All right. So a lot of the concepts Jeff went into about extracting data is going to make a lot of sense as we start working with a couple examples of building content. So I am Doug Vann, checking out dougvann.com from Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been to a couple Drupal camps. This is number 33 for me. This month I've got Atlanta and Bay Area, so I'll be 4 and 5, and then Chattanooga and Ohio, so I'll get 37 at least. Rumor has it there will be a Drupal Camp Chicago snuck in somewhere. If that happens, I'll have 38. There we go. So check me out, a lot of consulting, a lot of training, a lot of development, a lot of fun stuff. I get a lot of great gigs. I'm very blessed in that respect. But for our purposes today, I'm going to fire up a Pantheon site very quickly, just so I can have a fresh point to start in. A brand new site. What's my password these days? That's right, it's a bunch of stars. Not that one, no. Okay, plan C. You're thinking, why did you do that when he was waiting for the projector to fire up, right? Okay. So I'm going to quickly add a site on Pantheon. It's just a quick and easy, dirty way to get things done. Not dirty, since it's beautiful. Awesome site's going to be FV class. Fox Valley class. Great site. Beautiful thing that's going to happen here is it's going to build Drupal for me here in a second, take care of the database, take care of Git versioning, all the beautiful things that people love to play with. Install Drupal 7 right there. There are a bunch of other options as well, Drupal Commerce, a bunch of other distributions. If you don't know what distributions are, Drupal out of the box is very vanilla and not much going on, and very unimpressive and unattractive, but yet powerful in ways that are not immediately comprehensible because it's all buried behind the UI. And if you can find the right place to check a box and save the page, things will happen, and it can be a little foreboding in that respect. Drupal distributions come with sample data, example content sites, content types, and of course rounded corners and gradients and beautiful things to make it a little more pretty than vanilla out of the box Drupal. So you may find some value in playing with some of these distributions of Drupal, as they are a little even backwards engineered. There's a working slideshow. Find out how it works. Look at the view. Look at the content. Look at the fields and the nodes. Go to structured content types and manage the fields of those various content types and see what's making it tick. So fun with distributions. I recommend it highly. Here in a second, I will have a fresh Drupal site. We will create some nodes, create some blocks, manage some users, do all the things that a Drupal 101 class should have. Any questions before we are about to begin? Over there. Uppercase C, so it's the word community, where the C is uppercase and the U is uppercase, and the letter I is represented by the numeral 1. If anyone else needs it, it's getting bigger. There we go. Community. There we go. Quick story from my Drupal past as this loads up. I was on a huge social network project that started off with ASP. I moved it to my favorite CMS at the time, which was Joomla, if you can believe it. And then just weeks into moving it from ASP to Joomla, I discovered Drupal. And out of the box, Drupal provided so much of what this huge social network site needed. This is late 2007. And then I discovered that weeks later there was going to be a big workshop in Portland, Oregon, with these people called Lullabots. The name sounded funny to me, still does. Met Jeff Eaton there and all the other gang, and then the next month I was in LA at the theming workshop. The next month was DrupalCon in Boston. What do we have? 600-700 people there, Larry? 800 people there? Yeah, the Bay Area Drupal camp in a few weeks will be like 2 to 3 times that size, easily. But so I got connected, got plugged in, got fed, attended my first Drupal camp in December of that year, 2008, in Chicago. It was their first camp as well. They asked me to propose a couple sessions, so I thought of 6 things that I thought they might like a couple of. They took all 6. And then when I wasn't giving a session, people said, "Hey, you're not scheduled to give a session next hour. Would you go do a birds of a feather and talk keep talking about this topic? So I said, well, who would show up if I did that? And dozens of hands went up, so I totally lost my voice that weekend. It was horrible. Trying to talk about Drupal 5 panels with a voice like a wrestler. It was rough. So this site will pop up shortly. I thought about setting this site up before the class started, but I thought, hey, maybe I want to see this happen. So beautiful, here we are. I have a dev, a test, and a live environment, and I'm going to go ahead and visit my page. dev-fv-class.python. For those who care to know, this is running on Nginx, on a Rackspace server, APC.
Could you go over some of the words like dashboard?
Well, that's a Pantheon thing. I don't want to turn it into a Pantheon class. I just like to use Pantheon when I do demonstrations. Yeah, so we're not in the Drupal's back end quite yet. And I did see my Wi-Fi crap out about half an hour ago. It's still working fine now, I'm sure it is. We're still instantiating this site, which is fine. Just for kicks, I'll refresh that page. So as I mentioned, on a freshly installed Drupal site, you're not getting much content, which is why we're going to build some ourselves. Just as soon. Oh, you know what? We'll go through the install process. Even better. Good. So you wouldn't have the Pantheon option unless you're installing some Pantheon. So on first setting up a Drupal site, it asks you very few questions. There needs to be an email address for the whole site, a name for the site, an optional slogan. These are all things that you do with the initial installation point, but choosing your language, of course, is always a good choice. And anything you choose in here, except for the initial language, can actually that can be edited too later on, installing more language packs, etc. So don't freak out that you're making lifelong decisions early on in the process. That can be changed. So right now it's going through the installation process of actually installing all the modules that are in core. Drupal core is pretty heavy. It gets heavier by the release. And some of the modules are enabled by default, some are not. So FB class is the name of my site. The email address, I always use sysop. Just a hangover from the 80s, BBS days. Vann would be the name of the main account. Sometimes use admin, but that's the first thing people are going to guess. So this can all be changed again later on. Default country, if that's important to you. Check for updates automatically. This is good, because when a module or a theme is out of date, you want to know about it. So checking for updates automatically is nice. You'll get a big red box that says, hey, you have some stuff out of date. That's good to know. And then receiving email notifications. I'm turning that off, because I have dozens of these test sandbox sites out there. And every time something new comes out, I get like 17 emails. And, oh, crap. I've installed sites in other people's local hosts, and I've left my address in by mistake, and I'm still getting emails from their sites as well. So visit your new site. So whether you get there by personal install on your local host or not, this is the page you get.
I think this might be a little small for folks in the back.
Is that a little small? Oh, look at that. That's much fun. Yeah. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Command plus to the rescue. So here is the front page, and if this doesn't send you running away to something more pretty like WordPress, then thank you for sticking around. I don't blame you. This is not the most attractive, intuitive thing. It's gotten way better over the years, but I understand. There's so much power behind Drupal. This is a challenge of what's going on and where to find where you are in space and time. The admin bar up top, the shortcut bar, the header, the main content area, and one sidebar. Some pretty obvious things. Let's go straight to creating content. If you click on the Add Content link, if you don't have that Add Content link right there, you can find it here. If you don't have either two of those, you can go to Content, and from this page also add content. Okay, if there's any one way of doing something, there's like 101 ways of doing something in Drupal, or at least 3 in this case. So we have article and basic page, and we had a great lead into this, the basic page, formerly known as the page, and it tells us articles are good for looks like time-sensitive content, think periodicals like news, press releases, etc., blog posts. Whereas the basic page is like the About Us page. So let's just stay true to form and create an About Us page. So adding a basic page, which of course the word page is going to get very loaded for us today. We just had that. because we just had about an hour of Eden talking about how the page is dead. So let's create a dead page. So we're creating a node. Okay, in this case, this is a node. Up in the address bar, it's a node add page. If you excuse the overlay in the address bar, which I typically turn off my overlay, but the actual page here is node/add/page. We're adding a node. What kind of node? We're adding a page node. Was it really called the basic page? The URL hasn't changed since the day it was created, but the name of the page is now called basic page. So here's about me. And, this is my favorite thing to do too. If you haven't found bacon Ipsum, please do. It's the most beautiful thing on the planet. Give me bacon. Bacon Ipsum. Cupcake Ipsum is also nice. Everybody starts shouting out in China. And Pulp Fiction Ipsum, although that is not safe for work sometimes. Bacon Ipsum. I'm just going to grab the first two paragraphs here. And paste it in. There it is. That's all about me. That pretty much sums me up right there. So node title is required. Node body, we just paste this in data. What's a summary? A summary is an important thing to understand. This is, let's imagine this was 7 or 8 or 10, 12 paragraphs. When I go to show maybe multiple nodes on a page, multiple pages, multiple nodes, I don't want to show a title and then 7 paragraphs and then the next title and then 5 paragraphs, the next title, and then another 12 paragraphs. That's going to be a very long page. If I want to show them kind of an overview of these pages. Instead, Drupal by default will truncate that down to 300 characters, and that's configurable. It'll show the title and then the first 300 characters, the title and the first 300 characters, and that gives them, and then you can put 10 of those on a page and then paginate at the bottom. That's all well and good, but what if the first 300 characters of this particular post are not the most meaningful and attractive text that was going to entice someone to click on the read more button, right? So in that case, I could actually have a customizable summary where I kind of put in some flowery language, I kind of hit the highlights, and I really motivate someone, hey, this article is really actually good, despite the fact that it's all about meat and bacon and such. I can kind of sell them on the idea of clicking read more, but without that summary value in there, Drupal will by default tease the user by showing them the first 300 characters of the body. So this is an option. If you have a staff of writers working for you and putting in content, getting them to create the content at all can be challenging. Telling them to write their own summaries for it could be maybe too challenging, so maybe an editor or somebody will do that for you. But if you want to use it, it's great. And it's either or. If people have summaries or not summaries, Drupal will default to showing the first 300 characters, or if a summary is available, it will show that. That would be true on the listing page. We're going to just dissect everything on this page right here. Text formats, filtered. If I start putting in a lot of HTML on this page, it's going to get filtered out. I put in an image source equals, and I go Google image search and I find some image over at Disney.com and I love it, and I feel like breaking copyright laws. If you do that in here, it's going to be filtered out because the image tag is not acceptable in filtered HTML. In full HTML, it is. In plain text, it'll literally render the tags, the HTML itself. So if you're talking about HTML, put it in plain text and you can paste your HTML in there and you can talk about the bold tag versus the strong tag, or whatever conversation you want to have about that. It'll render the text as text. It will not parse it as HTML. To recap, filtered HTML, your users who have the rights to create this page, if they do put HTML, it gets taken out. Full HTML, it'll get rendered. The image, whatever they're putting in there, the bold, the divs, inline styling, it all gets parsed as real. Plain text will show the actual markup.
How do you do the example with the source? If you were to put the source HTML and then show the example of it?
Like a WYSIWYG?
Can you guys say that?
No, in this case, there's no WYSIWYG out of the box in Drupal 7. But if there were a WYSIWYG, you would apply the WYSIWYG to a specific named text format. You can create new text formats. In core, you can add as many formats as you like. Maybe there's HR, full HTML versus developer full HTML. You can have different. You can restrict the tags per user based on the name of the format. You can also restrict access to each format by role. So it's really granular. You throw me your exact story and use case, and we can build it for that and integrate it with a WYSIWYG. We have different WYSIWYG editors for different users, different content types. Whatever the story is, no code needed. We can dial it in and make sure everybody gets their exact experience that they should have. I also want to note that I'm user 1 because the default user that when you create a new site is user 1, and I see all of this. Maybe my crew that is doing content creation, They're not going to be user one, so they don't have all these formats. They get a single format. Which one? They don't know. It's the one we gave them, and they can't change it. So you're not worried about the fact that crap, someone turned on the full HTML and put a bunch of stuff in there. Now they're pulling in images from Disney. That's not going to happen, because if you don't give them the ability to change that format, then they can't get out of it, their stuff. And if there's some special post that needs something, they'll ping you and say, hey, would you please, add this image? You can do it yourself. So,
Can I ask you something?
Debbie.
Which one would you recommend when you're first getting started?
It's case by case. What are your goals? What are your business goals? And who's your content creators? If you treat it like Dreamweaver, I call it Drupal Weaver. If you want to go the Drupal Weaver route, put this bad boy in full HTML. I have seen people craft HTML in Dreamweaver and come paste it in. I've seen it happen.
Yeah, we have an old website that we're going to be pulling some
Convert.
information and stuff like that. Which you just do the whole.
You can get by with that. Are your styles in
No,
line?
I mean, we're going to be modifying it, but it's.
I think as we build more content, you might see some of that. You may have a more specific question towards the end of it.
Okay.
But so be on the lookout for that. But at the very least, full HTML will take care of you.
If you go in and edit a page that you put a picture in there, does a restricted user then not able to edit that page after that?
If that's a great question. If we change the filter after the fact, then that field will not be editable at all by that user. So if they've misspelled the word turkey in here, and I've changed it from filtered to full, just for the purpose of getting that image of the turkey in there, and when they go back and then someone says, hey, you're stupid idiot, you should misspell turkey. When they go back, that field is blocked out from them. They can change the title and everything else going on, but that field is not available to them. So that's a great question. It'd be horrible if it forced it back into filter, wouldn't it? And then all of a sudden they've overridden me. No. So we are the melody makers. We control the vertical and horizontal on this. So node title, node body, optional summary, which is good for listings. Text formats, 3 out of the box. There are more. I'm not going to talk about that fourth one that's being yanked out of core again. So again, we are user one, we are admin, so I have these vertical tabs. This used to be a 10-foot tall interface until young Dmitry Gaskin at the age of 14-ish wrote this vertical tabs for us, so now we can tuck things away in the little interface. Not every page needs a menu link, right? So articles and periodicals and blogs, you're not going to have a menu of blogs where it's just going to be, every time you blog, it's going to get longer. It's going to start wrapping. It's going to be a whole page of a menu. Now we can create lists of links to things, but an honest-to-God menu is not always what you want. In our case, the About Us page should be right there next to Home. Home and then About Us maybe, About Me. So when I go ahead and provide a menu link, there's some default activity. Drupal assumes maybe the title of this node that I entered moments ago would also be a good title for the link, the menu link. So we'll keep that. I could take the word me off, I suppose. Description, if I put some values in here, when you mouse over the menu items, you will see something pop up. This is good for accessibility. Very good for that. The parent item, so there are more than one menu in Drupal, but right now all that's available to me is the main menu. I could make this page a child of this page. So maybe like on your services page, you've got domestic and foreign services that you provide. So you could put pages under pages. So I can go services, and then the child would be domestic, and the child would be East Coast. So I can impose a hierarchy in my menu right here and now. Now we have to, of course, expose that to the users so they can navigate through. Maybe we use the simple menu module and we expose children by mousing over services, and then all of a sudden domestic and foreign pops up. I mouse over foreign, and all of a sudden Asia, Europe, and other things pop up in that list. So simple menu would be a good module to expose a hierarchy. We're going to keep things flat because I want Home and About Me to be at the same level. The weight, negative numbers to the left, heavy numbers to the right, higher numbers to the right. And in a vertical menu, light goes up and positive goes down. So very simple. If things are the same value, we default to an alphabetical list. About is before Home, so I do want to make sure this is at least, I'll go with 5. That way it's going to be greater than Home. So that's the menu settings. Revision information, this can be very handy. We keep track of all of our revisions so that, hey, how did it look the day you launched it? Go back and look in time. Only we, the admins, maybe could look at that, or we can give that right to someone else to look at the revisions over time. And if somebody else has access to come in and edit this page, I can tell that Tom edited it on this day, Nancy edited it on that day, And, I can go back and look at I can do a differential from any 2 points and see what the differences are. It's quite nice. It's optional, but it's quite nice. Now, URL aliases, by default, this is going to be node/1, which is not the most awesome SEO user-friendly title. I'm actually going to call this about-me. Okay, that's a good title. It's really going to be node/1 as far as Drupal's concerned, but Drupal's going to look for if a request comes in for site.com/about-me, it's going to go grab node/1 because it knows that's where that lives. And when I save this, you'll see it up in the address bar. Comments are not available, but they're closed right now. The About Us page is not a good place to have comments, right? Maybe some other place would be a good place. Because the comment module is turned on, comment module is in core, because the comment module is enabled right now, this option is here. If the comment module was disabled, then there would be no interface for it anywhere to do anything with it. My settings would stick around, but the UI would go away. I enable comment module again 6 weeks from now. All my old settings are alive and well. All the old comments are still there, and the UI has come back as well. Authoring information. There's only one user on this site, user 1, Doug Vann. I established that username during my install process, if you recall. If there were other users on this site, I could literally start typing their name in there, and it would auto-complete. I can ghostwrite. I can author a node on another user's behalf. I can change the ownership of a node. I fired Bob, lazy butt, but he is. Nancy's taking over all the pages he took care of. I go through and I change all of these ownerships to Nancy. She owns these nodes. She has rights to edit them, and she can do as she pleases with these nodes because they are hers. I'm admin. I can do anything with any node, but she has to own her node because I don't give her broad powers. I can change the date. Leave it blank. It refreshes to now, or put in a date if you want to spoof this back to the past. However, there is a log in here of when it was actually created as well, so don't try to get away with anything. Publish options. Couple options here. Publish. Maybe when people create content on my site, I don't want them. I'm gonna look at it all before it goes live. And there's no needs review or proofreading process or the legal department. There's no real name for these states. It's either published or it's not published. So maybe by default, or as everybody creates content, it's not published. And again, they're not going to have these checkboxes. So Billy, Bob, Jimbo, and Buck, Tom, Dick, and Harry, they can create content all day long, but they can't change their text formats. They can't change the menus. They can't change the published status. Only I do that because I'm the admin. So I wake up tomorrow and I've got 10 new pages that are not published. I'm going to go through and look through them. If I like them, I can publish them. Just check this box and I'm good. Promote to front page is a concept I would love to see removed in Drupal, or at least optional at a very high level. Other than groups.drupal.org, other than GDO, I don't know anybody who really takes a lot of advantage of the promote to front page idea. But nonetheless, it's there, and we'll see it play out here very shortly. Sticky at top of lists. If this does appear on the front page, maybe we want it to appear at the top, even though it's not the newest. There's 5 or 6 more. Oh, I'm not recording this either. I forgot to turn it on. Where was it? Yes. So if we do the promote to front page, we could leave something that right now the promote at the top, sticky at top, even though new stuff is coming in. This would stay at the top. And if there's 3 things staying at top, then the newest is above the oldest. So, but seriously, that's just not a UI that I see leveraged very often at all. When I teach module development classes, I remove this UI right off the bat. So there's a preview option. Might as well go ahead and use it. Okay, the trimmed version of your post shows what your post looks like when promoted to a main page or when exported for syndication. You can insert the delimiter, blah, blah, blah. So here's the trimmed version, which is our 300 or 400 characters, whatever it is. That's more than I remember. Maybe it's 7 or 8, I don't remember. There's the read more link. You can tell there's not a lot going on there. Had I chosen the summary option, there'd be more of a sales pitch to actually read more. Here's the full version. And then here's my opportunity to change the node title, change the node body, add a summary, change my filters, do whatever I want. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And who's never saved a node before? All right, well, you just saw me do it. So if you've never seen a node being saved, I just did it. My address bar, which should be somewhat visible way up there, says .com/about-me, right? Which is exactly what we expected. It's what I entered in the alias field. We don't see who authored this page, and really an about me page is not so important who authored this and when. This is a very static page, not a lot going on. So any questions about your first node?
So the node is where you're at within the site, right? Or what's the real definition of it?
A node is a piece of content that can be used for a variety of purposes.
Okay,
More often than not, a page.
okay.
But I have many sites, and if you remember my question to Jeff, it was, what do you call, Jeff? What do you call pieces of content, nodes or entities or what have you, that never have a life as a page? I built a law firm website 4 years ago, and they had 4 offices across the country. And every user profile I went to look at an attorney or a paralegal or a board of directors member, every profile of an individual on that site, they had like 200 plus staff people. Every staff page had the office that they work at. And I thought to myself early on, what if they move across the street from 123 Sesame Street to 124? They move across the street because it's bigger, it's better. Well, I don't think it's going to be a good idea to take the 80, 90 people that work in that office and go in and change that piece of data each time. So I said, let's abstract that out. Okay, the page is dead. Let's abstract that out to an office content type. That office content type has one thing, the body field, the address. Okay? Well, it has a node by default, a title by default. So, and how many nodes are there of that content type office? Just the 4. So the day that they move from 123 Sesame Street to 124 across the street, someone's going to edit that node and save it. Henceforth, all those 80, 90 people who reference that node, that will change for them. It's just automatic. As opposed to, oh, I was on Nancy's page and she's still on 123. I thought we changed them all. So abstract your data, model the meaning, not the appearance. It's my favorite quote. So, is that a good answer? That office has a page, you can go to it, node/whatever, but it doesn't have an alias. That is never intended to be a destination for users on that website. If I had the node ID memorized, I could go there right now, but I've forgotten it. It never appears in navigation. It's a piece of metadata.
So you wouldn't have like a page with a map and an address and full page that people could click on?
They couldn't afford that. Yeah, we'd be happy to build. There's a lot going on that site, and mapping 4 offices was not a concern of theirs. I could turn a week-and-a-half project into that map, but they didn't want to do it just fine. So this is the about me. This is beautiful. Let's go. Any more questions about this node before I move on to the article node? All right. So I have 3 ways to add content. It's all the same. I'll use this one this time. And this is the exact same page, articles or basic pages. And I'm going to create an article now, and we're going to see a couple differences. And we should, otherwise why would there be 2 of them? Well, already the UI looks a little different. So here's my node title. I'm going to call it art number 1, just because I feel like it. Tags. We have this thing called tags. Well, tags says enter a comma separated list of words to describe your content. Okay, well, I did this on a Saturday. I'm standing, and people are laughing at me. Okay, that sounds like a pretty good description of what was going on for this article. So here's the body, and you know what? My bacon Epsom is still in my buffer here, so I'm going to paste it again. And I'm going to paste it twice. This is a big article now. So text formats again, tagging. This is an extra field because your About Us page, your services page, and whatever have you. Though maybe you don't need tagging for that, but the articles, we have a staff of a dozen people traveling the country writing articles for us. I need some metadata about these articles. What's going on? And then of course I'm still user 1, so I have all my options here. I'm just going to leave it at full just for kicks. There's also an image option here, so this is new. Let me grab something. Choose a file. I always have funny things sitting in my pictures. What can I grab today? Oh yes, let's do this one. The audience will be very happy with this. I haven't done this one before in front of an audience. This is the Tron I Fight for the Users image. So I get a little thumbnail there. There's some alt text to keep us accessible. I can remove this and change my mind, apparently. The menu items are an option. Again, I don't want a menu of articles because that's going to get very long and ugly. Obviously, that's just not what we're going to do. Revisions are still there. The alias is still an option. Call it art-1 for lack of a better name. There is, of course, the path auto module, which gives us the opportunity to take the title of the node and just put it into the URL of the alias automatically. So maybe it would be site.com/the word article, and then slash, and then the title of the node with prepositions, articles, and conjunctions removed, and spaces replaced with dashes. That's the default functionality of the Path Auto module, which is not in core, but you can download that from Contrib Space, drupal.org/project/pathauto. I think it's one word. And but for our purposes, I'm going to type it in here manually. But if I don't want my content creators dealing with that field, I'll take that access away from them. I will put in the Path Auto, and I will make it article/title, removing articles, provisions, conjunctions, replacing spaces with dashes. And they will not be able to control this. If someone does submit the same title twice, there'll be a -0, and then -1, -2, and -3 if people keep submitting the same title. So no conflict there. Nothing else really happening here that's important to us. We do notice, however, that the publish is still checked off by default. Now, promote to front page becomes an important thing here. As the articles are published, they're going to become a river of news on the front page. I'm going to save my first article. Art number 1. I can view it, I can edit it. Submitted by Doug Vann. Well, sure enough, articles, the data about who authored it and when is a little more relevant to authors, right? Maybe he's your favorite author, you want to see all of his articles or something. There's an image, looks beautiful, I fight for the users. A lot of bacon Ipsum going on here. And there's my tags. Check it out, this is the taxonomy module. Taxonomy module is in core, and it's enabled, obviously. If it was not enabled, we would not have that functionality right now. I can disable taxonomy, and it all goes away, but when I turn it back on, when I enable it again, I get all my data back. Taxonomy terms are fascinating, and now we have this new navigation method for our content. We are able to reuse content. I can click on Saturday here, and it'll show me all the nodes, which right now is all one of them, all the nodes that any user of this site has ever created of any kind, recipe, product, blog, forum post, anything tagged with Saturday will appear on this page. And look at this again. This is our teaser, or it could be a summary depending on how they enter the node content, correct? That node body had an optional summary. That would be utilized right here. This image is much smaller than it was on the full page, and it's much bigger than it was when I uploaded it, because it gave me a small thumbnail. So I've seen 3 different sizes of this image already. I uploaded one of them, so that's kind of handy. And I can also branch off to the other tags from this one specific node. And if I go back, then here I am looking at a single node. So this is the taxonomy term page for Saturday, showing me all the nodes, title, author, date, a small version of the image, a teaser of the body, and then all your tags. And then by clicking on the title, it takes me to the full post. So out of the box, we have a very powerful categorization and navigation tool at our disposal, which we utilize this not out of. Taxonomy is just really awesome. And it's also hierarchical. You can have, on your blog, you can have personal and business. Under personal, you can have vacation. Personal, vacation, Disney World. Personal, vacation, Kings Island. So you can have hierarchy of tags you can drill in. So show me all the vacation posts. So whether they're Disney World or Kings Island or Six Flags or the Bahamas, whatever, just show me all the vacation posts, all of them. And then you can select, okay, just show me the Disney World posts. So by using taxonomy terms, we can really drill down into our content in a very hierarchical, meaningful way. Any questions about articles or taxonomy? Or some of that magic image handling we saw?
Can you give us some examples of good uses of taxonomy? When you're using a blog as an example.
Mm-hmm. I built a corporate intranet as well, which always has like a little data one, a little more, a little tweaking, and they always keep on paying for the extra tweaks, so yes. But in that case, there's a lot of assets going on, a lot of pages about important information to all the franchise owners across the country of this franchise, and it's all taxonomy driven. And it's always deep. I'm always showing a higher level of the taxonomy, I'm showing the higher level, but then at the bottom, I take all those next the child level of taxonomy, and I make those subcategories, and I show the content below them. So that whenever you're looking at a piece of content, you know what category topic you're on. You also know what's more granular below you. It gives you a tremendous sense of space, of where you are, where the information is, and where you want to go. If you didn't get to the page you were really looking for, chances are you're a click or two away because you can get there. That's a great example of hierarchical taxonomy. Yep.
We're talking about drilling down with tags. So you select a tag and it brings up a list of things with it, and you select another tag and it subsets it, or does it go to another full list of everything with that tag?
Whatever you want. So the answer is yes. The question is about hierarchy of tags and how you interact with them and make them not flat. I'm going to go to the structure taxonomy. I could do an hour on taxonomy, but I'm going to list the terms. So this is a free tag. I was able to type these in by comments. If I had a team of 12 people typing in articles, creating article notes, they may have used 2 or 3 terms each. Some of them were shared, some of them were unique. So I could have, this could be off the page. This could be almost unmanageable at some point. But I can grab these crosshairs and I can nest them. And now Saturday is a sub of laughing. And if I have 100 terms in here, I can drag this to the top so that when people go to select this, well, this isn't even a select list. But if this were exposed not as a blank field, but as a select list, then I could move the more common things to the top. That way the UI doesn't make them dig, which is the case in that intranet, because everything's important, but there are some that are clearly more common than others. So I told them where to find this page. I said, you go. And I've given them a great deal of the keys to the kingdom on this side, and they've been very good at it. And I use Pantheon for that, so if they screw something up, I can grab a database backup and restore it, which we've done a couple of times. So hierarchy is a good thing. Any more questions about taxonomy? Okay, let's knock your blocks off. I'm going to close the overlay. I'm going to go. So over here in the left column is the sidebar 1. We don't call things sidebar left and right because you could have sidebar content, or content sidebar, in which case your sidebar left would be right of your content. So that would be awkward. So we call them sidebar 1 and then sidebar 2, on the off chance that they could be next to each other. So over here in sidebar 1, we have the search bar, and we have this navigation menu. I will tell you the navigation menu is only available to admins initially, but you can control that. So what I want to have over here is a hello, welcome to our site block, just a little block of text that's on every page that says welcome to the site. Maybe it's a call out, maybe it's join our premium membership and see lots of more content. Keep up to date. Maybe I'm going to sell something here. I don't know, but I want a little block of content. It's not a page. It's not an article. It's not a blog post. It's just a block of content. So I'm going to go to structure. In structure, I have many options. Blocks among them. Here are my blocks. Let's note for a moment here, we have these regions. Everything in bold is a region. Header, help, highlighted, featured, content, sidebar first. We heard that. Sidebar second, sure enough. Did we see anything on the sidebar? We saw in those sidebar second. We've seen the article page, we've seen the basic page I created, we've seen the default front page, we've seen a taxonomy term page. We never saw a single thing over there in that sidebar 2 area. We did see the main content area fluid all the way to the edge of the page. That is because there's simply nothing in the sidebar second region. If there's nothing in the region, it's a vacuum. It doesn't take up white space. We have 3 in the middle, triptych first, middle, and last. We have 4 columns of footers, and again, there's nothing there, so you never saw them. If you'd like to see a demonstration of these areas, there's the demonstrate block regions. By the way, when you install Drupal freshly, don't install the minimal install. It doesn't give you this option, and it takes away lots of things. I mean, I saw someone do it for the first time last year, and I'm like, wow, why is that there? So demonstrate the block regions. Here we are, the header, the featured, sidebar first, sidebar second. Now this assumes a little bit of white space for the sake of giving you some orientation to this. The highlighted region is constrained by sidebars. The help area is constrained. The content region is constrained. If there's nothing in sidebar second, those 3 will fluid over to the right. Your triptych first, middle, last, your 4-column footer, and your final footer. Use what you want to use, don't use what you don't want to use. The theme, the Bartik theme, is the default theme in Drupal 7, and it controls what your regions are. There is no header 1, header 2, header left, header right. Those things don't exist here. Featured left, featured right, those things don't exist. If you want a different theme, a different experience, then you can download a different theme, drupal.org/project/themes. Most of us, though, use a framework like Omega or Zen or Adaptive Theme. And so we use that as a parent theme. We create a sub-theme. And some of those have wonderful user interfaces where I can pop in here and take featured and create a featured 2. And then I can set up featured as 3/4 of the page and featured 2 as 1/4 of the page. And I have tremendous control over that output from the back end of the Drupal theme. Not all themes do that. Some require a little more CSS work than others. And many of them are responsive as well. So didn't want to do an hour of theming, but just so you know where things are going, blocks go into regions. That search block that we saw, it's in sidebar first. That navigation menu block that we saw, that's in sidebar first. If I exit from this demonstration and look back at my list of blocks, I will see sidebar first has the search form and the navigation menu. And it also says user login. Did anybody see the user login block in that region? Why not? I'm already logged in. So if we look at the page logged out, there's 3 blocks in that region. Our goal is to create the hello, welcome to our site thing. So here's add block. Block, okay, this is not a node, this is not an article, this is not a page, this is a block. Welcome. Block description. Let's see, call it site-wide. Welcome. That's going to appear in my list of blocks in my blocks UI, so I know, because eventually you're going to have a lot of blocks on this site, and you got to know which one's which. And then blah, blah, blah. You don't want 5 paragraphs of bacon mix them in here. This is a block and a sidebar, right? I don't want it extending beyond the fold. This is for nice little discrete messages. Here are my filters again, etc. I can change the location of them right now. So in my Bartik theme, which we know is the default theme right now, I can go ahead and say, while you're creating this, please stuff it in the sidebar first. I'm going to throw it in the sidebar second so we can see that that sidebar does exist when we add content. 7 is the admin theme. When you're administering content, you don't need the welcome page and the please consider our premium membership and the only 100 days left till shopping days left till Christmas or whatever kind of stuff you have all over your sidebars. So we keep the admin experience clean from all those calls to action and marketing crap. So we leave that clean. 2 different themes, one for back end, one for front end. But you can change that if you like. So where is this going to be visible? Right now it says, this is the visibility settings for my block, which is not a node. Show block on specific pages. My option selected so far is all pages except those listed. So if I did something like this, this block would not appear on my About Us page. All right? If I do this, it will not appear on my article, that first article page. Or I could leave this blank and say, you know what? Only show them on articles and only show them on articles. Only show them on that content type. That way it applies to all of them, right? So there's a great deal of granularity going on, and only show it to certain, only anonymous. Only people who are anonymous looking at the site, kind of kicking the tires. Maybe they need to see, or hey, consider joining a premium membership, blah, 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 blah. So I'm going to sell it. Why would I sell the membership idea to people who are already members of the site, right? So control, control, control. Drupal is for control freaks. Control freaks unite. So there's incredible granularity here, and there are other modules that extend the control of this because who doesn't want more control? So having rifled through the UI, I actually didn't change anything permanently. This is back to the defaults, all pages except those listed. I'm not listing anything, therefore it's all pages, period. I'm going to save my block. There is no preview. Previews are for nodes. Saving the block. I'm back to my block UI. I scroll down, and sure enough, under sidebar second is site-wide welcome. I gave that a nice human understandable name so that I can see this 6 weeks from now and figure out what it is. Or my fellow developers can come in behind me and they know what that block is for. Now, if that ceases to be site-wide, I want to go in there and change that. Okay, I don't want that to be misleading to my fellow developers or my client. So I try to preach a little bit about taking care of your users and your developers and your clients. And there's a fine example. Say what you mean what you say, and edit it when it changes, right? Because I always do. I never forget that, right? So I'm going to see this thing, so I'm going to close my overlay. I'm going to refresh my page. I go to my front page. Oh, it's on the sidebar. I was looking at the sidebar first. So there it is. Welcome, blah, blah, blah. So welcome was the block title. The site-wide welcome, whatever that was just the machine name kind of on the back end only. Then the contents are blah, blah, blah. If you have a WYSIWYG enabled, you can throw the WYSIWYG in there and put beautiful bolded text or whatever your thing is all about. We've created an article, we've created a node, a basic page node, we've created a block. We've positioned the block in a region. Any questions at this time? These are the building blocks of your site. The nodes that contain data and the blocks that contain data. There's a beautiful thing that happens. We don't have time to go into it now, but this looking at a node like article number 1 has the author and the image and everything else. This is just blah, 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 blah. It's just a pile of content. Title on top, and of course, anonymous users won't see view and edit. The title, who and when, an image, and a bunch of text. So, and if that were a WYSIWYG, I could put some other things in there and maybe embed some images and float things around and whatever have you, and that's great too. That'd be more attractive. But what if I wanted the image to be in the sidebar? So every time you go to an article, the image is on the sidebar, and then everything, one single main, image that represents the article is in the sidebar, and then the rest of the images are in text, small and floated. That gets us out of this. I call this content vomit. It just piled up right there, a pile of content. I'm looking for a better metaphor. If you think of one, let me know. So the views module, which someone's doing an intro to today, get on that. Views allows us to say, hey, I want to create a view of all the images of articles, and I want to expose that in the block, as a block. And then you go to your blocks UI and say, hey, rip it up. Then you go to your blocks UI and there's a new block that's disabled by default, and you put it into the sidebar second and save it. And now every time I go to here, I would have an image, that same image in the middle, that same image on the outside, in the sidebar. You don't want it there twice. Last thing I'm going to show you, structure, content types. Here are my articles. I'm going to manage the displays. I can also manage fields. I'm going to manage the displays. Last thing we're going to do today, here's the image. I could drag it out of sight. Now, that view that hopefully you guys are going to create in the intro to views class, that image is being taken out and exposed as a block on the side, not showing up twice. And while I'm on this page also, but when this image is visible, check it out. Right now it's 480 by 480. I have some other options. I can change the size. I have at least 4 options. None, show the original. And I have 3 built-in styles. We can use our image styles elsewhere in the UI to change as many options as we want. I can make the image link to something or not link to something, to itself or to content, blah, blah, blah. So, quick little teaser there about managing displays as I get slightly off topic. I need to give a book away and then we gotta go to lunch.